Okay, so npm version. How do we know that it worked? If npm version tells you like a version on the next line, you know it works. If it either, okay, so no version came out. Try node VERSION. So 2 double dashes and see if that pops. Oh, it did. Okay, cool. Yeah, it might just be something weird. Anyways, that's good. So we have npm set up. Cool. Now we're just gonna start with how you can create a React application. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with how to navigate like the command line, but just pick anywhere you want your project to be. Type CD and wherever you need to go. In my case, I'll go into my projects folder. Oh, not program files, projects, and just, yeah, let's just go into project. So it's CD and wherever you want to be. After this, the actual command to create the project is npx create react app and whatever you want to name it. In this case, I'm going to call it React Workshop. And you just press enter. I'm going to send this in the chat just so that now what this is doing is getting all the React dependencies, all of the code that kind of helps React compile and run. It builds out like a basic boilerplate for your project, which we can go off of. Capital letters shouldn't. With create React app, they might. I'm not sure, honestly. But for project name, they shouldn't matter. That's just any string. As long as your folder can be called project name, you can use that. If there's spaces, you can put it under quotation marks. Actually, let's see. Actually, no, there's no point. Okay. Now, if anybody doesn't have this set up, let me know. We can wait for a bit. But now we can do a CD into your project name. So in this case, CD React Workshop. Oh, is that different? You can press tab for autocomplete, but you can also just type it out. If anyone's not able to follow like anything here, just let me know. Either chat or you can even speak up, that's fine. Cool, yeah, we can wait. It sometimes take a bit. Not sometimes, it will take a bit because there's a bunch of stuff that is downloading. Aborted installation. That one's interesting. What does it say, Fahad? Like, is there an error message? Oh, well, I guess you can have capital letters in it. I never tried having capital letters in it, but only small letters. Just to be safe, don't even have any spaces. Just actually, you're right, spaces shouldn't be there. Anyways, so small letters separated by hyphens is fine. I'm not sure of the exact restrictions of the project name, but it seems like capital doesn't work, as Simmer pointed out. So if you mean by install it again and again, run this command that we just ran, yes, but this is not a, so this is not like a installation per se. It's creating a project. It's more like you going into, let's say, IntelliJ and creating file, new project. It sets up your project directory. Anthony, were you able to run this command? If not, we still have if like there's something wrong with your terminal, let me know where you're stuck. We can figure that out. Scroll back up. This is the command I ran. Yep, if you already have it, that should be fine. We can open that. That's fine. Also, let me know if it's done in the chat so I can figure out if we need to proceed. Also, Anthony, if you need help with this, let me know.
Yeah.
So, where are you at right now?
Let's see. I'm at the so I'm trying to, I think, make like a file path for the project.
Okay.
Not too sure where. I'm not too sure where I am in general. But okay, so.
Yep. So are you on Windows?
Yeah.
So in how the path works is, first of all, like in this case, I have this path in my G drive. So
okay.
So it doesn't matter where you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like so that you can find it later. That's all.
Okay.
So in my case, I know I have this folder G project. Mm-hmm. So I just did in my PowerShell cd change directory and the full path.
Oh, cd is just change directory, and then.
Oh, Rick, did you just join? We haven't done much. We won't. Yeah, just that command is what we run. So go into any directory and run the npx create react app command. If it just stops like it did for me, it told me a bunch of instructions. You might have npm start here, but it'll just say a bunch of instructions here, and you'll be able to type stuff again in your terminal. Or, okay, cool. Is anybody here who's still waiting for it to complete?
All right. I have an error.
So did you run the npx command? That's where the error is?
I did, yeah. Unless I misspelled create. Hold on.
No worries.
That might be it.
Yep, it does say happy hacking. Yeah, you should be able to copy paste if you have like the chat open. I can send that out again. Just a sec. So there's two package managers. I'm kind of trying to.
Oh, my bad, man. My bad.
Oh, was it actually just misspelled?
I think so, yeah. Also my mic.
No worries. So yeah, it says Yarn because Yarn is another package manager like NPM. Both of these go they allow you to install libraries from that are hosted in, let's say, like NPM, so npm.js or org. All of these are JavaScript libraries. So both of them are just ways to, they do the same thing. That's all you need to know for now. I'm going to use npm though, so. Yeah, pretty much. It's like bit for Python. All right, so is it still running for you or are we done? Also, by the way, if there's anyone else who still has issues kind of setting up the React app, there is another way to just go to this website and click on React. It'll just, okay, let me know when it's done, Anthony. We'll wait for you. But in case anyone else keeps running into like errors, you can go to this website. Don't go if you already have this set up. Otherwise, I'm just going to confuse you. Facebook hacking workshop. I wish I knew how to do any kind of hacking, but not happening anytime soon. All right. We'll repeat these instructions again, but just so that people have stuff to do. Go to VS Code and find whichever the folder that you just created. So in my case, where is it? So I'll have to find this. Yeah, so go on to VS Code. Rick, where are you making it? You can, so this is what we did. Go to any folder, create the React application, and in that folder, it'll be a new folder, another folder, subfolder called this name. So you can just, so I did it inside projects. So it created project/React workshop. Now what I'm gonna do is go to VS Code, find that folder in my G drive, projects, workshop, and just open it. So file, open folder, and find the folder and open it. I'll put this out in chat. File, open folder, find and open your folder. Fahad, I would suggest in that case, just go to stackblitz.com because debugging NPM specific errors is going to be hard right now. So I'll put out StackBlitz. If you're looking at my screen right now, I'll zoom this in a bit. When you go to the website, you might need to sign up, but once you do, it has a bunch of options to create different kinds of projects. Just a sec. Oh, wait, Rick, what's your current path? Are you on Windows? I've had that error with something before, but not relating to this, and I don't remember why. Hamilton had that error. It's probably some dependency. I think at this point, I would just suggest going to Stackless. I would do once more, make sure you're not in like a protected directory, just like in your, like if you're on Linux, don't try creating your folder outside your user folder. So not like in root where you need admin access. Yeah, other than that, it's hard to debug, at least for now. I'm sure there's something on GitHub for it. Oh no, this is on copy paste. Create React app. Well, apparently a bunch of people had this error. I can send this out, but I would just suggest go to stackblitz.com. So go to this website for Fahad as well. I think he was also having issues also. Go to this website. I need to sign up. I'm not sure. So select React from create new project, and it should just create like a whole React working directory for you. It should work exactly the same as what we're gonna work with here. I think. Do I have terminal access? Maybe. Yeah, at least for following along at the start, I think this would work. Let's see how to use a terminal here later. All right, so I'm gonna try and move on. Just a sec. Where am I at? All right, so once you have this folder open, and let me know if you have any issues. We're just gonna go over what kind of these all these folders are. So generally, whenever you're hosting like a website, the entry point ends up being an index.html file, which has a bunch of stuff we don't need to care about right now. But what this does is just has a div with some ID, which our React app will replace. We can ignore the public folder for now, except for that it's just going to add like some script that's going to replace this div. So where the actual magic happens, the source folder. Let's actually start this app now. So once you have VS Code open, click this thing at the bottom, go to terminal. There's a shortcut for it, but I forgot. But anyways, just go to terminal here. It should just open a PowerShell, which is fine also. It opens something else for me, but it doesn't matter. Here, we're gonna type the command npm start. Oh, interesting. In that case, if you still have PowerShell open, I think you might have CD'd into the directory. We're gonna just stay there for simplicity. So when you created the project, you CD into the project name, and then from that directory, npm start. This is gonna start our basic application in development mode, and it should just open up Chrome. Hey, we have an app. How are we doing with this? Is this done? Does it work for you? Sure. So if you navigate to your directory where you just created the project. If you don't know where that is, let me know. But if you do, so in my case, it was change directory to G drive projects. Oh, not program files, projects. So this is where I have my project. My project name was React Workshop, CD into React Workshop. And now I'm in the directory where we just created the project. It's the same directory that we opened up in VS Code. You can CD onto that from PowerShell. In VS Code, you're supposed to open the terminal. You know, I'm gonna look up the shortcut to do this. Actually, let's see, terminal. Never mind. Anyways, what I did was go here, open this bar, and there's terminal. I'm gonna look up a shortcut for this. Cool. Rodrigo says go into view and terminal. Apparently shift plus escape works too. Shut the God. So view terminal. Once you're there, this should open up. It'll probably open up PowerShell, and you just need to type npm start. And let me know if that pops up. Where's my Chrome window? It pops up this thing. It should just pop up this thing in your default browser. Apparently this threw errors for Simmer. What do the errors look like? When you put MC, it says it's not working. What is MC? Oh, npm start. It's not np. I'll type it out here. Okay, let's see what Simmer has going on. npm start. So Simmer, did you run if you run the npx create react app command here, you're just in a folder that has your project. You're not in your project folder yet. So as I did here, you have to cd into your project folder. So, or just open it in VS Code as we did. So file, open folder, find the folder that you just created. It's gonna be called whatever the last argument was for npx create react app. So if it was npx create react app project name, your folder is called project name. So cd into that. You're in the wrong folder essentially. Yep, you got a cd into the project folder. From your error, what it's saying is your folder doesn't have a package.json file, which is in your folder that you just created. Okay, so you have like the terminal open, right? In your terminal, type in npm start and press enter. So once you do npm start, it should pop up this window with your React app. Let me know if this works. Oh, okay, Simmer, so you found your directory? Let me know if someone's still stuck on this. it should open up this localhost 3000 with this running. Gonna assume everyone's set up with this. Cool. All right, so we have this running. Now we're gonna go over how or what the entry points for this is. So again, as for any website, we have an index.html file. It has this root folder, which it replaces by using some JavaScript. That's all we need to know about this. Apart from that, in our source folder, we have index.js, which is the entry point for our React application. You'll see it imports a bunch of the React stuff, but the main thing it's doing here is it's creating a React DOM. It's finding the div by its ID, and it's rendering that app here. If you're not familiar with like exactly what this means, it's fine. It doesn't really matter for now. We're gonna try and just focus on how specifically you can change this up. Okay, so what this does is calls your app here. So anyways, we're gonna go to app.js. We don't need to worry about this too much right now. So app.js. So as we can see, this has a bunch of code which we are gonna get rid of. This is what's displaying all of the stuff here. Let's strip this down to just basics, and let's have nothing here. So a div with hello in it. So what this should do is refresh your page, and you have just hello there. So let's break down what this file kind of means. So in React, so first of all, this is, we can inspect this and then, oh my God. Actually, I don't know if this is gonna... Anyway, so it takes whatever we have here pretty much and renders that here as a div. It literally has this, but that's just how, just simple. Anyways, so the way React works is each function is a component. So in this case, what this function does is, in this case, it's not taking anything, but what it's returning, it what needs to be displayed on your screen. So in this case, it's returning a div HTML element with hello in it. So that's what's being rendered here. So it should be pretty much similar to other language syntax, but in JavaScript, the way you declare a function is function, function name, and just brackets. You should get used to this pretty soon. So this is what defines our main app component. Right now, it's just doing hello. And then we export this so that our index.js file can import the file. Otherwise, it's like, in a way, how Java, you have to set something public, I think. Anyways, let's start doing some more stuff, and we'll try to go over specific for JavaScript as we come to them. What's the next thing? Just a sec. Cool. Okay, so the way this syntax works is everything is contained inside this weird syntax where you have HTML within JavaScript. So in this case, you're able to just say div within JavaScript. This syntax is called JSX. When you do this, what this does is this converts this into like another function, or sorry, another React component when you actually kind of compiles it back. But we don't know how to use it. So for simple, just static, any kind of HTML, you can use basically any sort of tags here. So your H1, like your headings, or any kind of other JavaScript tags, just work as it is. Sorry, any of your HTML tags, just work as it is. Once you have that, now the next thing we need to know is how do you display stuff from JavaScript here, because this is just static. So if you, let's say you have a string in JavaScript, like it's not strongly typed, the way to define strings is just say constant, our name, so just some string. And we define it like this. So if you need to use any kind of JavaScript within the syntax, you need to use curly braces, which indicate that whatever comes within these curly braces is a JavaScript expression. So what that means is you can either have any kind of string here. So in this case, some string. If you do that, it just displays that string, which we defined here. If you let's say have null, just display nothing. So that's how this kind of works. The next thing is arrays, in a sense. What happens if we have a list of values that we want to display? All right. So let's say we want to display a simple list. So let's just do a list of divs for simplicity. So let's call this project 1, the other one project 2, and project 3, just because. So as you see, this is still just JavaScript, and it displays all these three in one after the other. Now, where this gets interesting is instead of just being able to just write static stuff, you can write JavaScript expressions. And when you have an array of these things, and by the way arrays work in JavaScript is, let's say you have an array of strings. So string array, you just start it off with like this square brackets and just start putting in values. So project 1, project 2. That one doesn't matter. That's just to demonstrate arrays. So we can do the same thing here. Like this syntax defines an array. So what we can do is within these brackets that indicate that the stuff inside these is a JavaScript expression, we can convert these into an array. Oh, there's something missing here. The curly brace is missing. Oh no. I'm gonna format this so it looks better. Nope, doesn't like this. Okay, so anyways, so here we have like an array. Each array has the same kind of div that we were initially returning. Now remember, when you're doing this return, it converts this into like a React component object. So we did the same thing here. Within these curly braces, we have an array, and each element in this array is just another div. Now this does the exact same thing as before. Why is this useful? This is useful to use dynamic content. Now, let's say we have this project array. we want to display this project array like from this variable, like we have a list of names and we want to display this list of names. What we need to do is have like a list of components that somehow also has these values. So in JavaScript, a operator that you have is map. So let's just say map thing. When you map over an array, you can take each object. So in this case, we take this array. This thing goes over each item in the array and performs this function on it. So in this case, which we get, let's do this inside a console. Never mind. I can slow down. I'm just trying to. So do we understand how? Just a sec. Let's get rid of the map stuff right now, just so that we can kind of figure out where we are. So here, this is what we're displaying. This is JSX syntax. How is the projects in an array? So the way you declare arrays in JavaScript is this syntax. Here, let's just get rid of these first. What I did is, okay. So we wanted to use a list of projects within this div. The first way to do is just to have project 1, project 2, project 3 normally. The second thing is we can actually just display an array of these, which does the same thing, but I do want to kind of go over it to see what it does. So what we did here is, you can repeat, we'll go over it later. We will go over it later. So here, what we're doing is we have a starting bracket and an ending curly bracket within this div component that's indicating that anything inside these is a JavaScript expression. Now our JavaScript expression here is an array. Right now, it's just an empty array. So it's starting square brace and ending square brace, and there's nothing in it. So it just displays nothing. Now we can add divs in it, just like the thing we're returning. So div, let's have something inside it. Let's just call it project 1 so we don't get lost. So it displays project 1. So as you can see, it's just displaying this array. You can have an array of these React components and it'll just display them in order. So now let's have project 2 and 3, just adding 2 more elements to this array, and it displays them. Does this make sense? Or cool. The next thing we're going to go over is mapping. Let's just consider a simple example. So I'm doing it inside this terminal right now, which is just like interactive JavaScript. So let's say we have an array of numbers. We can map this to a different array. So what that does is you can specify a function. So this syntax here. So first of all, .map. The next argument that it takes is a function. So what that function needs to take in is the element. So one of these, and what it should return is a transformation of the element. Let's just return the element first. In this case, we went 123.map and used this function. What this does is for each element in this array, it shows the element. Like it creates an array in order with the same elements. What this allows us to do is edit these elements. So let's say we actually wanted to multiply this by 100. So what this took is everything in this array, mapped this function to everything in this array, and returned a new array, which has our initial values, but now multiplied by 100. Why is this useful? Now, what we want to do here is map our array of project names to an array of projects that can get displayed. So let's comment this div out. Or actually just get rid of it because otherwise we're gonna get more confused. Right, so here in this curly braces, we need an array of project elements. Now let's go over our string array. We're gonna map through that array, take each project name. And for that, we're gonna return a div. Let's just say for now with something in it. So it went over both of these. For both of these, it just returned this. So it transformed this array into just an array of divs, which has this random text in it. Now, what we can do is, since we have this function which takes in our elements, we can show them within our div. Great, we have project 1, project 2. The way we did it is we mapped this array of strings to an array of projects. Does this make sense? If it doesn't, let me know. I will try to explain it because I cannot tell if anybody else tells me. Yeah, nice, try it out. I can send this code over if you need in the chat. Let's see if Teams has Markdown. It does. Kind of. So this is what we have till now. We're mapping this list of projects to a list of project names to a list of like projects that we're displaying. All right, next thing. Now our project doesn't just have a name. It has, let's say it has a name, a description, and what else does it have? And a link. Actually, let's just stick with name and description for now. Now it makes sense. Okay, so name, description, a link name, and a link URL. So now we get to JavaScript objects. So the way you can use objects, they're more like Python dictionaries if you use them. So we can say, we start off a project with a curly brace, an JavaScript object with curly braces, and then we have keys followed by their values. So in this case, name, project 1, we have our description. We have the name of our link. Let's just say some sort of GitHub. And a URL. Let's just go to github.com for now. Now this is like one of our projects. We define like a structure for a project and how the values will look like. And we can use that in here. Instead of just having an array of these strings, we can have an array of these JavaScript objects. So I'm going to replace this by just one of these. I don't know what I just did there. I don't think copy. Anyways, we're going to paste this project into the array. And now we have an array of one project. Let's try running this. It's probably going to crash, but let's see anyways. Yeah. I don't know why I did that, but anyways, so now we're still mapping the same list, but we don't have just a name anymore. To access these properties, what I do is for each project, just dot the property name. So in this case, let's go with name. We're back at the same thing. But now we have some more information that we can display within this project. All right. Now let's just witchcraft, huh? It really is sometimes. All right, so instead of putting this project just in by itself, let's put it in a heading element. So h1, let's put our description in a paragraph element. So project.description. Oh no. You know, I don't want to type out description. And the next thing we have is a link. I should have asked if people are familiar with HTML here. Yep, you can. Actually, it's the same as this. We're not actually using it, but there. Okay. So we defined a object, like a JavaScript object. The way we did that is it's like a dictionary, which this is just a syntax. It's key value pairs. So our key is, again, kind of just a string, in this case, name, and our value, which is the actual string, project one. So key description, value this, key link name, value this. It is recorded, Ahmed. I'll post it out once we're done with this. And it's looking like we'll probably just have to do another session after this. But anyways, it'll be recorded. I'll post it out. So name, description, link name, link URL. So these are just 4 values. You can kind of think of these as they're just key pairs. And then we have our values here. This makes our object. Now, we already had projects, so what I did was replace the list of strings with a list of projects. So the same thing, but actually link URL. So list of project, just for actually having a list and not just one element. Let's have another project. Project 2. And does that make sense? Probably does. It probably doesn't. But... Okay. It's a good start. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll also be uploading this code, so you can even take a look at this later. I'll just send out the completed GitHub repository. So is anyone here who hasn't worked with HTML before? I should have asked that, but I forgot. Oh, you have not worked with JavaScript before? Or you have worked with JavaScript before? Oh, I should have said HTML. Yeah, no worries. There's a recording for everyone here. This is being recorded. I'll send out the recording in an email and an announcement. Okay. So anyways, right. So we have, first we had a list of strings. Now we have a list of projects. We're going over each project. Now, instead of just saying name, we can do project.name, and we can access this property, project.description, and we can access this property, the description property. And once it renders, this is what it does. I'll zoom this out a little bit. And a header with the name and a description with whatever description we have here. Cool. Now the next thing will be a link, the third link that we just created. In HTML, this is how links work. It's a tag. How do you choose which one to show? Right now we can't, but we will go over how to choose which one go over. So right now we're just displaying this array of projects. The actual like manipulating it comes later. We can't even use, we'll go over that later, but I think that's what you mean, to be able to kind of change it while you're on the website. But right now we're just displaying this whole list. So if you want to change this, you just have to change this list. So for now. Even later, what you would do is whatever list that you're displaying, you will have to just change that list and React will re-render. Not like, not exactly like this, but that's why we're going over this. Because it should make that simple later on, hopefully. All right, so with links, what we do is a hyperlink equals, again, now we want to use the JavaScript here. So we do project.description and project.description. Oh my God. Link URL and project.link name. So now this adds a link beneath our project. Cool. Now this is the basics of kind of rendering like a list of data into something that's kind of readable and usable. Now, as you can see, this kind of starts looking ugly once you keep adding more layers. Now what we're going to do is, instead of doing this here, we're going to make a project component. But before that, does anybody have that I can try and answer? Or did any of this kind of didn't make sense? Can try and explain it. Great. Well, I am just gonna create the other component now. And as we mentioned before, in React, like each component, we're gonna define what a component is. It's just a function. Actually, let's define it. It's just something that takes in data and returns what it should display. So in this case, let's create a function or a component for our project. What are we going to call it? Let's just call it project. So what this needs to return for now, let's just return another div. It displays the string project. So very similar to what we had like at the start when we did hello world. But of course, this does nothing because this is just a definition. But what we can do now is instead of this div, which I'm gonna get rid of, I can use the project just like a normal HTML tag. So opening tag followed by a closing tag. Now we have a project component, which will display project. It doesn't take in any data, so it doesn't know what exactly to do, but it does what we expected it to do, which is just display the string project. Now we want to be able to pass in data. How does that work? So this project actually gets some properties that are being passed in. So how does that work? So if I do project, and let's just call it, it's going to be any string proj, or like any string, but I'm going to call it proj. And then, just as we did before with JavaScript Expression, this is kind of the name. And actually, just to differentiate these, I'm going to call it C probably for no reason, just to differentiate. So this is our name of the argument that we're passing into this component. And the value is just one of these values that kind of gets passed in through the string array.map. Now, how do we access that here? This props object is what contains whatever you pass in as kind of attributes in this HTML / like JSX-ish syntax. So let's just say we pass in nothing equals something equals just the string something. You can display that string with props dot something. Apparently I spelled it wrong 2 times. So that works out. So here we passed in the value something from this property. It got passed in through this object, and we can access it by doing that object dot whatever name we decided for it. But we don't need the something. What we need is our project. Now, similar to what we did before, what we can do is so React is a library that helps you create like websites. It's mostly for state management. So like, as you can see, we're kind of displaying a bunch of these arrays right now. Like one of the core things with React is once you can have methods that change this data, and our website just reacts to that change and just displays the new data. So it kind of helps you manage like your website. Like modern React, like this is, you can think of it's the same syntax if you're even using React Native. It compiles to a website. Yeah, pretty much. Like if you're just doing JavaScript, you have to do a whole bunch of if statements to, I don't know, or just write a bunch of HTML. This helps you kind of build websites that are dynamic and kind of help manage state. Basically, app development in a sense. You can even do Android iOS apps in this, which is React Native. There's a little bit of differences, but the core things stay the same. So it can be used to make apps as well. So, okay. Well, I actually didn't mention that before, did I? Firebase is Google's, it's like a backend, but without you having to set up a server, it's like a collection of services that helps you make like your app dynamic, like you can have a database that is like Firestore hosted on Firebase. You can have like hosting. So your website is hosted through Firebase. Once we're actually done with this project is when we can kind of get to the projects part. So it kind of creates a project like this where you have like a database. So in this case, like instead of having my projects just in this array, I get them from Firebase and display them here. Pretty much, it has a pretty huge free tier. Like it gets paid if you have like a bunch of traffic, but like for most stuff, it's free for a long time. All right, back to the projects component. And let's display this project. So props.proj.name and all of the other stuff, which I'm pretty sure I don't have it. Oh, I do have it copied. Great. So I just copied the same thing that we had before. So just now we have to access the project through our props. So props.project.name, props.project.description, props.project.url, and link name. There's some syntax sugar that makes it looks a bit nicer, but I kind of don't want to create confusion right now. So yeah, we're back to the same thing we were doing before, but we abstracted out how our project is displayed into a different component. So for our list of projects, we're just displaying each project through here. Cool. What is our next thing? Let's see. Okay. I think we're done with just how the displaying stuff works. Let's move on to dynamically having stuff react to actions on the website. So React has an API called useState. Gabriel, I will send out like the link in announcements once this is done on the Discord. And I'll also send out like an email through like, if you've signed up through the link, you'll get an email. Yep. All right, so the next API we're gonna go over is what lets your application react to changes in your data. Now here we have just two static arrays, even though they are objects. We're not really changing them. And if we do change them, React doesn't know that, wait, do I need to display this again? So for that, what we use is an API called useState, which helps us manage the state of each component. All right. This is how you use it. So now this is slightly weird syntax, but what this means is, okay, so just a sec. So useState, what this does is returns an array with two objects. Now this is just JavaScript syntax to say, if you have an array on the right side, let's say a comma b, you can do a b equals 1 and 2. So this is a different way of kind of assigning variables through an array. So in here, a would be 1, b would be 2. So you can just access them as normal variables now. So just like console.log a or anything. Right. By using useState, what we can do is, what it gives us is two values. the first value is our number. So in this case, our state is a number. I specified a default value here. The first value is an accessor, which gives us the value. The second value is a function that I can use to change the value. So in this case, a number and a function to set the number. So these two variables are that. We also had to import this from React. So kind of this import statement, React, useState from React. I'll copy this code over just for oh, apparently it failed to send. Try again. Oh, my Teams is broken. Never mind. We'll probably have to like split this off into a different workshop anyway, so we can start off with this stuff and the next one and just have this as a recording. So I'll just go over how useState works for now. I'll probably just repeat that next time. All right, so useState. We have a number, we have a function to change the number. To start off with, let's just display the number. So here I have 0. Now let's have a button which changes the number. So this is how you can define buttons. So a starting tag, ending tag, and inside whatever you want to call it. And we have to specify what it does when you click it. So on click, do something. Now do something needs to be a function. We can define functions inline in JavaScript, just like we did before with map. So do something equals a lambda function, which is just like this. Anyways, so you start off with your arguments, you provide an arrow, and whatever the function returns or does. In this case, we just need to do stuff with it. Anyways, so on click, what we should do now is we should set our number to 78. Why? I don't know, but 78. So when we click this, this should change to 78. And it did. So again, a button, a function to do stuff. That function calls our setter method, which we used from useState, and changes the value for our number. And we'll React, and what this tells React to do is use this function again to display this, to refresh our kind of display when you use the set function. Okay, let's say we want to actually increase this value now on each click. We can access our previous state by instead of specifying a value, we specify a function. So what our function takes in is our previous value, and what it returns is the previous value plus 1. Can be anything, but right now we're going to do plus 1. So if you keep clicking this, you can see the counter keep. Now this is the basics of how to use state. Why is this helpful? This helps us create actions to just edit our projects within the app. So now let's change this string array to, instead of just being like a variable, let's change this to be a state object. I'm still gonna keep this. I'll move this outside of this function. Let's just call this default string array. Just default projects, just so we can use this. All right, so we don't need the number right now, so we can get rid of that. Let's get rid of the button for now. And instead of doing num and set num, let's do project and set project. We can specify our default value to just be an empty array, but we already have like a default value written out. So let's just say default project. Just for clarity though, this could just be like an empty array. It will just, oh, wait. Yep, so projects, not string array. So it's just an empty array right now. To get the same behavior as before, we set our original value to what we have. We just moved here, default project. Just a list of values. And this is our default state. Back to where we were before. But now we have this extra set method. We can use this to change this. All right, let's get our button back. And let's do something with these projects. Let's go over our list of, not go over. What we can do now is add another project. So I'll just copy this actually. So projects.add, actually, I'm not sure if it's called add push. Yep, so the way to append values to JavaScript arrays is array.push. So here we're gonna do array.push project. So wait, we don't need our, actually, wait, what am I doing here? Oh, ignore that for now. All right, so we have our list of projects. Let's create a new list of projects. So new projects equals projects dot add, dot push, like add to the array a project. Cool. Now we have a new list which has this project added to the end of the list. Now let's set our list of projects using this set projects method to this new list. New projects. So what should happen now is when you click this button, it calls the onClick that we specified, which is do something. It goes here. It gets our original list of projects, adds an element to it, and sets the list of projects to our new list that we just created. Let's see if it works, hopefully. Oh. What did I do? Oh. I'll let new projects equals projects. Oh, I am forgetting some stuff, but interesting. Well, let's go into some JavaScript debugging now. Maybe I'm actually just forgetting this stuff. New projects, let's just log it to the console. It does have 3 elements. Interesting. All right, I think it's probably something to do with the copying stuff. Let me just try this out, then I can explain what I'm doing. Yep, okay. So I was editing like the original list, which I think when the change detection ran, it just saw that it's still the same list. and it didn't recognize that it needs to change it. Anyway, so what I did right now is create a new list from our original list. This is just a syntax for creating a new array with all our original elements in it. We can use like a different function for it. But what this does is kind of spreads out all of anything that's in a list and adds them to a new list. So we created a new list with all the projects that we had. We pushed our new project into it. And we set our list of projects to this new list of projects. And when you click this, it should keep adding the project at the end. All right, so this is how you add stuff to a list. What I'm gonna do now is we are at time. Probably gonna have to get to the Firebase stuff definitely in our next lab. Wasn't sure how long this was gonna take, but anyway, so watch out for invites to another event. There'll be a recording of this event, so if you weren't able to follow properly, I'll send this code out as well as like what we did with the, as well as the recording out, so you can watch that. And we'll watch out for an announcement again for the follow-up event, where we're gonna take this editing of projects further, add functionality to be able to edit each project, just like the original link I sent out. This is what we're gonna do finally. And yeah, so we are at time. Thanks for attending. If you have any feedback, just DM me on Discord. If you weren't able to understand anything, you can either DM me or post questions on programming questions. I would suggest just trying out what we did today and even look up stuff on React and kind of just get familiar with it. And next time, it'll actually help us follow along even better if we kind of understand what we did today. Again, I'll send out this code and I'll send out the recording. Minecraft using React, interesting. Right. Stop the recording.